Right. Well, welcome back to Chris Frank Games early Saturday morning edition.
It's the early late edition.
Well, I hope everyone has their cornflakes with milk and sugar into them. They don't. Do people do that anymore? I remember my grandma used to always, "You want sugar in your cornflakes?" I always thought that was weird as a kid too.
That's just Frosted Flakes then. Like
Right.
they sell that as its own thing.
Yeah, I guess modern cereal skips the middleman and just gives you sugar directly.
Would you like a bowl of candy?
Yeah, basically. All right. Well, it is Saturday morning, and by the way, these early morning podcasts always sound a lot better in the afternoon the previous day. But then when you wake up at 6 a.m., you're like, I have to do a podcast in 1 hour. Not so appetizing. So
Well, it's not so early here, but yeah, there might be some kids in the background.
I'm sure there's a bunch of things you'd rather be doing than doing a podcast at 9 a.m. on Saturday. But the reason we are here is that a couple of scheduling conflicts. The Packers played the Seahawks on Thursday Night Football, and I almost wish I hadn't seen that because they lost. And then B, we were going to do it on Wednesday, but then Battlefield 5 came out. So I thought, why not we just kind of wait a day or two, and we'll get my thoughts on that before.
This is how much we care
show.
about you, dear listener.
Yeah, exactly.
We make sure there's capital C content coming your way.
Well, a bunch of stories came out, too, on Thursday and Friday as well, so we can always talk about that. But, of course, I don't know, did we even say the name of the show? It's Chris Frank Games. I think we said that. My name is Chris Stotts, and then that's Frank White. Frank, how's it going?
It's going.
All right, great. And, of course, listen to us on iTunes. And then we're putting the show on YouTube as well. So if you want to watch some fancy graphics and some other stuff, check that out. Wrong way. Weatherman. You got to do the Weatherman. Yeah, there you go. Why don't they just fix that? You know what I mean? Why don't they just mirror the weather guy instead of the image? Why don't they do that? All right. Well, we're going to start with some video game news. And Frank, here is some news that I honestly was very excited for, and I kind of didn't realize it. And this is actually probably the most excited I've been about a video game announcement, probably since probably since Zelda. It's been a while.
Ah. It's technical difficulties, folks. Which is why you're hearing me twice with some crackles.
Yeah, no, I touched the wire and just it blew up on me. I'll have to check that out. All right, 6:45. I'll write that down. All right, so here's a video game announcement that I was actually pretty excited for, probably since the last Zelda. PUBG was officially announced for the PlayStation 4, and it will be coming out on December 7th. Actually, I'm sorry, December 8th. So finally,
coming up.
Finally, and I was worried that Microsoft would buy Bluehole, the guys who make PUBG, and we would never see it for the PlayStation. I would be forced to buy an Xbox, but that did not happen.
Well, I think we have them being bunted to the number 2 spots in the world of Battle Royale games for that.
Yeah, they should have sold, right, when the iron was hot.
Yeah.
now it's looking a little dour. That's kind of interesting you say that because I watched actually a bunch of videos, and it seems like PUBG is kind of in a bad place right now. A lot of people are dropping the game and moving on that, and they don't seem like they're able to keep an update schedule. I'm sorry, consistent update schedule. So maybe this is a shot in the arm that they need a new player base from PS4. And I mean, with 40 million PS4s, 60 million, however many, I mean, I think it's going to be a pretty big hit, too.
Well, I think it's all going to come down to is the frame rate going to suck still?
Yeah, exactly. So
if they can get PUBG out the door on PlayStation, relatively technically okay. They'll be fine. But if it's just going to be the Xbox, starting over again, they can kiss their blue holes goodbye.
Well, it's going to have all the maps and all that stuff, so I think it's going to be fairly consistent with the Xbox version. I think the Xbox One X version doesn't even run that great either. So I don't know. It'd be awesome to see this thing running at 60 frames, but I don't think it's going to happen. So $30. That's nice to see. That's only 30, and of course you can pre-order and get the Founders Pack and all that crap. So oh, and also there's a Nathan Drake skin for your character. So that's cool. There you go. And then
I saw they had like Harley Quinn and Joker from the Suicide Squad versions.
Oh yeah. Maybe that's on the PC. I don't think it's on the regular consoles. But yeah, everyone's doing these skins now and all that stuff. And then Ellie's backpack from Last of Us, the iconic backpack from Last of Us. So there.
Yeah, it's funny. Like they didn't do all this custom character and skin stuff right off the bat. Like I feel like they felt like they were missing out from the Fortnite people.
Yeah, well, I mean, you sell the game for $30, you gotta like get some more money from people somehow. So, and they do these battle passes now and all this stuff. And also some more PUBG news. Battlegrounds is coming to Xbox Game Pass. So if you have Xbox Game Pass, you pay $10 a month, you can play PUBG.
Sweet.
So yeah, that's pretty good value. A Game Pass. I mean, that's pretty good. Not bad. All right, and I guess while we're talking about Microsoft, we might as well talk about this rumor about Microsoft. So Paul Theroux, I guess that's his name, who is a Windows pundit who basically just blogs about Windows and Microsoft and all this stuff. He says Microsoft is developing a diskless Xbox diskless Xbox One for 2019, and will offer a disc-to-digital program. So I'm assuming that if you already have the discs, you get the games added to this. I'm not sure what that disc-to-digital. What does that even mean?
I think you have to turn in the disc to somewhere. Like you probably have to go to Best Buy and hand over the disc, and they'll give you a download code.
Yeah, did you actually read that, or are you just inferring? Because
I am just assuming.
Yeah, that's weird. What does that even mean? I don't know, because isn't that shit tied to your Xbox account anyways? So why would you? I don't know.
Well,
I didn't read that, but
not really. Like the disc acts as the key, like for a physical game. Even though like 90% of them nowadays do a full install and like are running essentially no differently from the game downloaded, the download version, but the disc is just used as the DRM basically, and like a backup. So they got to do something. Like you can't, if you no longer have a disc drive in your Xbox, all your discs are useless. But
yeah, but I mean, once you play the game, doesn't get linked to your. I don't know. Okay, whatever. But so a couple things here.
Well, they don't want you. They don't want you linking the game to your account and then giving the disc to somebody else.
Oh yeah, I suppose. Yeah. All right. Well, a couple things here. So a diskless system, saying it'd be maybe I can't. Yeah.
Yes, it's true. This system has no disc.
Yeah. How about a driverless? How about we say that driverless system? And yeah, so it should be around. They're saying $200. I think it's gonna be $99. I think they're gonna go for it. $99.
I wouldn't go that far.
You don't think so?
Maybe like 150 for a sale price.
See, I think this is going to be the streaming thing. I don't think this is going to have a big-ass hard drive. I don't think it's going to have a big-ass processor. I think this is just strictly a streaming player for the Xbox
I think
service.
they're just taking the drive out to save a few bucks.
Yeah. It is, so obviously you're not going to be able to play games. I'm sorry, buy games for this and use discs on this. I bet you this will not be sold at any retailer like GameStop or Best Buy. Because, right, they don't want to sell this thing where they can't sell extra, discs and all this other crap. I think this will be online only. And then I think if you get, like, a Game Pass, they're going to have some sort of special promotion. If you have Game Pass subscribed, it's only, like, $99 or something like that. Or maybe they'll built into it. Maybe $50 a month. Although that seems like, people pay $50 a month and more for cable, I guess, right? So,
well, I mean, it's going to have to be online only because how else are you going to get anything on there?
Yeah. And then I can see
It'd be interesting if people end up coming up with scams of like, all right, what games can we get cheap and then on disc and then turn in the disc?
Yeah. And I was thinking about this the other day. I think I think it might be portable too. I think it might have a screen. I think it might be very Switch-like and have a screen or a tablet or something like that.
Well, and it's definitely not going to be $100.
Yeah, for sure. So they may have two versions or something like that. But I can see these next guys, Sony and Microsoft, that go on the Switch route because the Switch just makes so much sense. You can bring it anywhere. It's portable, and you just put a better processor, which are getting better all the year. I've heard. Why not put it into a portable thing? So, yeah. All right. So, does this interest you at all? Are you?
I got enough games to play.
Just give us cheaper games, right? Does it mean cheaper games or not? That's the question. All right.
I also, you know me. I love physical content.
Yeah.
So.
That's true. You're gonna be talking to your kids. I remember when I had to stand in line for GameStop in the winter.
Both uphill both ways.
Yeah.
In the snow. And then the store didn't have it.
Yeah, and then there's no way to contact them early or see a website or something like that. All right. Well, the Detective Pikachu movie trailer hit earlier this week, and people were pretty excited about it, which is kind of surprising because there's a game. The game has been out for like a year already. It's based on the game.
It's 1,000 memes were launched in one day.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of the super realistic art style they went. I mean, why didn't they just go like they must have done tests, right? So why didn't they go with like a traditional like cartoon, like almost like a Who Framed Roger Rabbit animation style, right? That's what I would have went, but it must have looked too childish or too fake or something, or maybe they're trying to get more adult audiences or something. I don't know. Your thoughts on it?
I think they were just excited by the opportunity of making some of the weirder looking Pokemon into like horrible abominations. There's gonna be some real nightmare fuel in this movie. I can pretty much guarantee it.
Yeah, that Mimic one was freaking me out too. Like, this is gonna scare kids.
Oh, the Mr. Mime or whatever.
Yeah. With the interview scene that they had. Yeah, this is gonna scar kids. I don't think this should be rated PG-13. I think maybe.
I can't wait till we get to like Mewtwo in there, and he's like a dripping amniotic fluid fetus guy.
Yeah, and I gotta say, I thought the 3DS game was very charming. I think they lost a lot of that with this trailer, at least this movie. I think they're going the wrong direction. First of all, Ryan, what's his name? Reynolds, I guess that's his name. I don't watch movies, so doing the voice, listen, I know we're trying to get like the celebrity voice and the name on the poster and all that stuff, but why don't we have like a Peter? I know Peter Falk is dead, but like let's have a Peter Falk Columbo. It's so much better in a gruff voice and all that stuff. So much better than this.
Well,
Deadpool.
There was already, with the mashups already out there. The Danny DeVito one.
Yeah, exactly.
Was pure gold, and that seems like such an obvious choice in retrospect.
Yeah, is anyone going to be like, oh, Ryan Reynolds' voice is Pikachu? I cannot wait to. No, I don't think so.
I feel like there was some Bradley Cooper as Rocket Raccoon influence in that decision.
Yeah, why don't we have a better voice, not the celebrity name attached to it? How about that? But and all these poor voice actors in Hollywood and get no work here. Yeah, what about the guy that did the original voice for the game? I mean, he was too busy. He couldn't do. You couldn't pay him too little.
Yeah, well, what did his voice sound like in the game?
Like a gruff kind of Columbo Peter Falk type of thing. So, and then one other point, blah blah. Oh yeah, so the story was that the kid, the human being is the only one who can understand Pikachu. He was kind of like his dad was a detective, and he was kind of like a junior detective and all this stuff. And I think they kind of threw away a lot of that stuff. So Pikachu's a detective, but there's this whole detective thing like going on. I don't know. I think they threw away a lot. I mean, whatever. It's just a trailer, so we'll see what's up with the actual movie. But, yeah. All right.
Looks weird.
Yeah, it definitely looks. It's a cool idea, and like, I bet when they saw that game, they're like, man, we can make a movie out of this. And it was like, yeah, for sure.
I'm just excited purely for the realistic CG versions of various. Like, I hope they have the weird racist like drag queen Pokemon. That one, like that. I want to see what that one looks like realistically.
Streets in New York,
rendered in CG. Yeah, terrifying.
All right. Well, the Game Awards have been announced, and I guess these are becoming the video game equivalent of the Oscars because there's nothing really else out there. I guess was it the Spike Awards? Is that the other crap? I don't know. That's not even around anymore.
There's lots of awards. They're just all kind of small.
Yeah. So here are the Game of the Year nominees: Assassin's Creed Odyssey. So we'll talk about these in a second, but Celeste, God of War, Spider-Man, Monster Hunter World, Red Dead Redemption 2. So all
Spider-Man.
Yeah, I think pretty quickly it's Spider-Man's probably the easier one to choose on there. All single-player games. Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which is like kind of a direct sequel. Kind of surprising that's there. I realize it's a quality game, but I mean Celeste is like a 2D platformer, I guess.
Yeah,
for the
I've never
Switch.
played Celeste, but it gets a lot of praise, like for an indie platformer. But it's, I guess it's a mix of like super hard, like Super Meat Boy kind of like platforming, but like in a much more chill kind of way. So I guess there's some good like difficulty balance stuff that everyone talks about with that.
Yep. All right, so I've heard it's pretty good. God of War, good 10 hours, but then I think it drags a little bit. I mean, definitely an achievement in video games, but I won't say it's perfect at all. Spider-Man, I've not played Spider-Man, but from what I've heard, I definitely looks like probably the game of the year. Monster Hunter World, is this for the Japanese audiences or the Asian audiences, or what's up? So
it's I mean, Monster Hunter World is the first like big mainstream Monster Hunter game. So.
And you played this, right? You have this? Did you?
Yeah. It's pretty good.
Do you still dab it?
Not really, because it's like it's one of those games where, it doesn't have microtransactions, but it's got like daily login bonuses and like one-time events or like limited time events, and it's really hard to get back into those games like after the initial like. I played it, I beat it, like. I see, oh, hey, that looks interesting, but like, in a lot of the high level content, like, I feel like if I jump into the game, I'd barely remember how the controls work on my guy, and I would get killed and then get kicked out of squads for dying too much against these like rare high level monsters. Also, I don't want to get too much in the weeds here, but there's one level in the game that they frequently use for like end game content, like high level monsters that you hunt, and I'm really sick of it already. Like it's the least interesting map, and like after a while you feel like you're there all the dang time. So
yeah. How about, was PUBG nominated last year? How about PUBG? Is that on there? I don't know. And then Red Dead Redemption 2. I mean, if this wins, it's just loses all credibility. Game Awards. I mean, this is like Forrest Gump winning over Pulp Fiction, right? In '94 or whatever that year. So.
There's been worse Oscar things there, but yeah, I mean, it's popularity contest, and
yeah,
I think. Red Dead being like the newest of those games probably gives it an advantage as well.
Yeah,
but
hopefully when people actually vote and then they're like, oh yeah, actually,
definitely seems like the you got your big AAA open world games seem to be
kind of a Celeste, but like nothing. You're telling me none of these indie games were any better than any of this, like PC. I mean, what about Frost? What about that Frost game where you had to build stuff? Frostbite, or no, not a Frostbite.
The like city building strategy game when Frozen Wasteland.
Yeah, whatever though. How about that? I mean, or I don't know, whatever. I mean, you got
popularity contest. You got to make sure it's a game that like we'll throw one indie bone in there, and then everything else has got to be something that like the unwashed masses have heard of.
The plebes. You better like it and hope it. Take it and like it, right? All right, so what? Just Spider-Man? You think in general probably would win?
Well, I would be my choice of that group.
Yeah. All right.
God,
Well,
Monster Hunter World feels like so long ago, but
yeah.
it's just the beginning of the year.
Yeah. All right. And then we have more news from Sony. Um, they probably will not be showing off their game of the year this year at E3 because they are going to skip E3. And this is after last year's kind of live performance, kind of weird kind of thing. And it's funny because everyone was like, why did they make us go here and do all this stuff? Why didn't they just have a bunch of videos showing all these games? Well, that's what they're going to do this year. Instead of being at E3, they're probably going to have like a bunch of trailers, a bunch of video games. So I hope everyone's happy now. You drove off Sony.
Yeah, I think they just didn't have much new to show, and we're just gonna like not waste everyone's time.
Yeah, well, and money. And maybe they blew their wad with this generation.
Yeah.
They have nothing to show for the rest of the gen.
Or this is the new strategy of everyone just like retreating to their like branded enclaves, because doesn't like Sony has their PlayStation Experience or whatever the hell it's called.
Yeah,
I
which
don't even know when that is. So maybe they're going to plan on focusing on that, and everyone's just going to retreat from the communal space.
yeah, well, Xbox had their own little Xbox Experience like last week or something like that. Yeah, so I mean, I guess the strategy here is why waste. First of all, we're winning. Why we need to be here at E3 and waste all this time and money and be drowned out and have to compete, with Xbox, which we don't really compete with. Why even waste your time and money doing all that stuff? And then, so there will be an E3 this year, I'm guessing, because it's already probably scheduled and all that stuff. But is there going to be an E3 in 2019? Should we?
It's going to take a couple years.
Yeah, but I mean,
I would think that 2021 will be the first year without an E3.
Well, I mean, why would Microsoft be there, right? I mean, if Microsoft's the only one there, like, it doesn't make. I could see kind of maybe retreating into more like a PC-centric, like technology-focused conference or something like that. So I don't know, but yeah, it's pretty.
Well, people complain all the time because ever since the last few years, it's been like way easier for civilians to get inside of E3. Back in the day, you needed to have strong industry connections to get in the door, and it's much more public nowadays.
Yeah. All right. And does anyone really care? I mean, does anyone really? I don't know.
A lot of game journalists care about that.
Yeah, I guess.
Sweet capital C content to speculate on.
On expense reports, excuse to send them out and party. All right. And then just some videos here that I want to highlight. Mark Brown's Game Maker's Toolkit. He's going through all these Metroidvanias and kind of dissecting each game. He went through Symphony of the Night, Castlevania, which I've never actually played.
Symphony of the Night. Is that what you said?
Symphony.
It sounded like you said Sympathy of the
Sympathy,
Night.
yeah, right? Isn't that? It should be Symphony.
No, Symphony. Sympathy of the Night is like a Cure album or something.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So, Frank, have you played this game?
Actually, I played it on the XBLA back in the day, but not that far back in the day.
Yeah. So his take was kind of it kind of opens up a little bit way too much, and it kind of doesn't tell you where to kind of go, so you could very easily go like the wrong. He was talking about there's this big staircase or this other way you can go, and he actually ended up going the wrong way, and you really don't find anything except for like health power ups and all this stuff. So I don't know.
It's not that big of a game, though.
Yeah.
It's not like Hollow Knight or anything like nowadays, or Axiom Verge.
Yeah.
Like it's for an open world-ish Metroidvania, game. Would be considered on the small side nowadays.
It's one castle, right? Too.
Yeah, though they do have the do it again upside down part at the end.
Yeah. All right, so I know it's a very beloved game, so it's the kind of interesting dissection of the game. So check it out on the Mark Brown's Game Maker's Toolkit. All right, and then we were talking about Tetris Effect last week. Is it Mike John Linneman from DF Digital Foundry did a nice retrospective of a lot of Tetris games. Starting off with the original crazy Russian computer one, and talking about the Game Boy ones and all these other ones and some PlayStation ones, and I didn't realize there's so many goddamn Tetris games released.
Been on like every system ever.
Yeah, it even has a top 5 Tetris, and Tetris Effect is number 1 for him. But I guess the Nintendo 64 Tetris game was pretty good. I never played that. And then I guess the Nintendo DS Tetris game, Tetris DX or DS or something like that, is probably one of the best handheld versions going on right now. I do not have that. I remember that coming out. It was a pretty big deal, but again, it was just kind of Tetris. But Frank, any Tetris Effect?
I said the Game Boy one.
Yeah. And I guess there's a cheat code or a bonus unlock where it makes your Tetris Effect look like the Game Boy textures and all that stuff. That's pretty cool. I like how they do little stuff like that. I don't know if they had to license that from Nintendo or if they...
I don't know. Nintendo doesn't own the
green sprites,
green whatever dot matrix technology.
Yeah. And he also kind of goes through the evolution of the Tetris gameplay. How you can hold the pieces, and how you can shift ones that are going to be coming up with the other ones, and just all the Tetris rules, which I don't know all about, but just kind of interesting. And there's a Virtual Boy version of it. I did not know that. I did not have that one either, too. So
Tetris Effect 0.
All right. Why didn't? Yeah. Can you imagine if they would have actually went all out on that Virtual Boy one? That could have been the killer app right there. What happened with that?
Now they need that in Tetris Effect.
Oh yeah.
That, just emulate it or something. That Nintendo might have a problem with.
Yeah, you got a good point. You get a Virtual Boy emulator for the PSVR.
Yeah, PSVR Virtual Boy.
So it's only one color of red. And you have to stop playing every 15 minutes to make sure your eyes don't get permanently damaged. So, have you ever played a Virtual Boy?
I rented one as a kid when they were new.
Yeah, from Blockbuster or something.
Yeah, and I think I remember playing the tennis game. That's all I really remember.
Mario Tennis or something like
and
that.
And it was so uncomfortable. I did the laying down strategy.
Oh yeah.
Where you lay down and kind of put pillows around your head and then just have it resting on your face.
Yeah. So it's a system where you have to have it on a stand and put your head into just very, very non-Nintendo, anti-Nintendo kind of design policy.
Yeah.
So just
and and the controller was bizarre.
Oh
not like N64 bizarre, but it had those weird long prongs for handles.
Not a good bizarre, yeah, not at all. Didn't have any analog sticks either, too. Kind of surprising at that time. But
well, I don't think you could have that fine a control over the camera. There was no first person shooter games where you could look in every direction.
Yeah.
It tended to be a lot of shooting gallery kind of stuff in a black void.
God, I wonder if anyone is doing that for the Oculus, making a Virtual Boy emulators. God, there must be a scene going on, right?
It's got to be out there. I don't know how big it is. But
yeah,
it exists.
I'm sure. All right. And then Digital Foundry, John Lemon also did a video on the Spyro trilogy that got updated and re-released, and he kind of compares it to the original Spyro games, which I never really played too much, but they looked really good. They were pretty bright and colorful games, and if you didn't have a Nintendo system, I'm sure it's a pretty big substitute. And it's funny to listen to all these YouTubers talk about this new Spyro. Everyone's like, "Oh, I played this game as a kid," and blah blah blah. I was like, I was 15 years old when Spyro came out. Who cares? Just a crappy, Mario clone, So whatever. They can't help it. They can't help it. All right, Frank. What have you got any news for us this week?
No.
All right. Sounds good. All right, I'll tell you what. Let's take a break, and we'll be right back with the games we've been playing. All right, I'm gonna refill my coffee and fix my lighting here. This sun's going up a little bit. All right. Back. All right. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. Boom, boom, boom. All right. Well, we are back, and we'll talk about Battlefield here in a second. But I did play some Bulletstorm. So did you get a chance to play this?
I downloaded it. I haven't played it.
All right. I'll talk. I played for about 40 minutes, so it'll be interesting to get your take on it when you get a chance to play it. But basically, really quick, I mean, this is basically Gears of War, like a generic kind of cheaper version of Gears of War. It basically tries to emulate it with the same, gung ho.
It's first person.
Yeah, first person, right? And I mean, it was made in Poland, I guess, right? It's Eastern Europe, so yeah, you can tell they didn't really have the budget that like Epic would have had for like a Gears of War game. So you can kind of tell with like the cutscenes and all this stuff, they're kind of cheating a little bit with the special effects. So which is not bad, but like yeah, it's definitely not Gears of War, but it's kind of going for it. The whole gruff muscle bound steroids let's fuck these guys up, blah blah blah, such a relic from like the aughts, the middle aughts.
Let's just say it's not a coincidence that Duke Nukem was like a downloadable character for this game.
Yeah, it's just such an acronym. I think that's the right phrase. Anachronism. There you go. I'm learning how to pronounce words on this show. All right, and then the whole gimmick thing with the rope, where you can kind of like lasso enemies and then throw them up in the air. I didn't really find it that compelling, and maybe it was because I was just in the beginning of the game and I didn't really get to do all the other stuff they have you do with it. But I mean, if a guy is behind cover and you just rope him and you throw him up into the air and shoot at him. Well, is that really strategic? I don't know. Is that really? I don't know. And then when you throw up in the air, it kind of goes into bullet time. But then it doesn't really. I had trouble shooting the guys up in the air. I did not think it was that fun shooting guys like in the air. I did not think.
You got to pull them towards you so then you can kick them into a cactus.
I guess, and then you kick them and
shotgun them.
Yeah, and then it has these things where you kick guys into spikes, or throw guys into spikes, so they like create these levels where you can do all that stuff. But I just, again, maybe I just only played it for the short amount of time, but I found it fairly dull. And you're not really flanking enemies. You're just like, it's almost like a Call of Duty type of thing where you go behind cover. The guy is across the way from you and he's shooting up. So you have to like pop up, shoot at him, do the rope thing or whatever. You're not really flanking stuff like in Gears of War.
Well, it's not, I don't think it's a tactical shooter so much as it's attempting to be over the top action. So stop being so strategic, Chris. Get in there and bust some heads.
Yeah. So again, maybe it was maybe I'm 10 years too late to this game or something like that. But
I mean, it is a remaster.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'll be interested to get your thoughts on the game. But I was hoping like, oh, here's like a lost gem from like the last gen, but I didn't really think so. And no one, shockingly, no one's playing multiplayer. No one's playing it's cool that they included multiplayer, but I think I set it up to look for a match, and then I don't think it ever fell.
Well, that's this is from the era of we have to have a multiplayer mode. I'm so glad that we have finally like gotten over that, and then like where they're like, all right, Last of Us can do it because it's a big game and we're actually going to put some effort into it. But if you've got a single player game, you don't need to tack on. We don't need Condemned 2 or Dead Space 2 or multiplayer modes anymore.
Yeah, or Metroid 2. And now it's funny because people were asking for multiplayers in their single player games. Now people want single player games in their multiplayer games. Now we don't even have that anymore, right? So times have turned quite a bit. All right, so that's Bulletstorm. All right. So we'll talk about Battlefield in a second, but Frank, what have you got for us?
Still playing Red Dead Redemption. I said it was funny. I said at the beginning I failed. I was like, I am just going to focus mainly on the story. I'm not going to get distracted by side stuff. But there's so much side crap. And like, I figured out what the fast travel is for, because the fast travel only goes one way, and it's a pretty substantial upgrade cost early in the game. So Takes you a while to get it, and it's one way, so you can go from camp to various locations throughout the game, but you always have to go back manually.
It's like a train, isn't it, or like a
well, you can
stagecoach?
there is stagecoaches and trains can be used for fast travel, but like the literal like fast travel of like I would just like to teleport there because you still have to deal with the travel time for the I don't know, actually I haven't gone on a stagecoach yet, so maybe they have a load. But
why didn't they just have you get on a train, you go to where you want to go, and that's the fast travel? What's wrong with that? I mean, I'm sorry, that's what people did in the old West, right?
You're stuck on the path of the train, man.
I guess, but that's what people did, right? They took trains back in the day. Can we recreate that?
Well,
I don't know.
It's a cowboy game. You ride your horse everywhere.
Yeah.
And I do have a fast horse, so it's like not like getting around is that big of a deal. It's just like you could probably get with the fast horse, you could probably get from one side of the map to the other in like 20 minutes, which I guess is still a long time. But anyway, it's the what fast travel is for is you're like, all right, I need to go here, and I don't want to get distracted by a bunch of bullshit on the way because I don't know how the game decides how to spawn these random events, but like sometimes you can go quite a ways without anything happening, and then sometimes you can't go 10 feet without somebody else like I've been bitten by a snake or I've been, and they're dangerous because the way the controls work in the game, like I can kill 30 U.S. Marshals in a cowboy town shootout because they're far enough away and I've got cover. But I got murdered to hell by some knife-wielding Louisiana mud people from the swamp because I was out in the open and they were rushing at me with knives. So it was like so this is minor spoilers for a side event, but watch out for the crying lady in the swamp.
No.
She ain't friendly. So she's just sitting in the middle of the swamp crying, and if you try to go help her, she just instantly slashes you with a knife and runs away, and then 3 of the like gross swamp people like just emerge out of nowhere, and they totally do they totally flank you in that she runs away while 2 guys run straight towards you from the same direction. So while you're distracted trying to bullet time all 3 of their heads off, there's a guy coming from the side. And so I actually just got to watch it in slow motion because in bullet time your turn speed is so slow you can't. So like I'm like shooting these other people and just watching a guy like go for my throat with a knife, and he totally killed me. I got mad.
And you're like,
no! I just bought new clothes. I had just gone to the big town and bought fancy clothes, and then was like gonna ride back to camp in my fancy clothes and got murdered by swamp people. So. But I definitely have gotten over the initial like hurdle. Like last week we were talking, I was having a real hard time getting into it just due to the the complexity of Rockstar's maximalist controls, where everything has to have contextual nonsense, and you just got to get used to the game doing stuff for you. Which sometimes is convenient, sometimes is inconvenient, but yeah, you just have to like don't worry about you really don't have to worry about reloading your guns because that was a problem I ran into when I was talking about this game before, accidentally pushing people when I was trying to reload my guns because I didn't realize my gun had already been holstered. And actually going into Deadeye actually automatically refills your gun, so you can actually kind of use that as an exploit to like skip reloads just by like quick going in and out of Deadeye, which isn't something I rely on a lot. But yeah, it's like I said last week, it's weird how this game is so gamey in some ways and so simmy in others, and like it's kind of arbitrary how it decides whether this is going to be like an arcadey mechanic or a detailed simmy mechanic that's going to require, active stuff on your part. But yeah, so once I got used to it, and then going around like doing a lot of the side stuff, and the hunting actually turned out to be kind of fun. I'm gonna skip fishing. Fishing is boring. And then I looked up. Also, I have given up all pretenses of like spoilers for this game, and like I'm just looking up anything I want on the wiki. I don't give a shit. Because like I tried to find the legendary buck on my own, and it took like an hour of wandering through the woods, and then I looked it up, and I was looking at the wrong place on the map in the first place. So I'm like, all right, if I want something, I'm just gonna look it up now, because the legendary buck gets you. You can craft a trinket at the fence. For some reason, you use the fence to craft trinkets, and then so you take the pelt. The legendary pelt to the trapper, but you have to take the legendary antlers to the fence. Whatever. But you can make a trinket out of legendary animal parts. Sometimes they're complex recipes requiring a few things. Sometimes it's just the antlers or the claws, and those can be pretty good stuff because they're permanent bonuses. They're little, like, you can wear it. Like, it'll be like a little bolo tie sometimes, and like you can put it on you, but once you've unlocked it at all, you get a permanent bonus. And some of them are pretty substantial because the buck actually just flat out increases the odds of getting better pelts off of animals that you hunt. So if you're looking for perfect pelts, that's super duper useful. Also, ironically, hunting legendary animals is way easier than regular animals because you don't have to worry about ruining the legendary animal's pelts because they have their actual health. So if it's a legendary animal, you can just go to ham on it with whatever. They're a little more complicated to find in that you have to find clues, you have to find their area, and then you have to like wander around and find clues. But once you found all the clues, it spawns and it's pretty easy. Whereas regular animals, you have to kind of go to their territory and like find one that has a high quality pelt to begin with, and then kill it without fucking the pelt up. So ironically easier to hunt legendary animals. But yeah, it's trying to focus more on the story now because I dicked around and then like crafted a bunch of stuff and then realized that like 90% of it is all cosmetic. There's a lot of stuff and you're like, okay, that just gets me some clothes. The satchels are the big things. Like that's what you want to be focusing on for your hunting, and that's a lot of deer and small game, because those actually increase your inventory space when you craft those. And it's so arbitrary. Like you don't know, like, do I take this pelt to the trapper for some clothing, or is this pelt going back to camp because it could be useful there? And like it doesn't tell you ahead of time. You have to like remember or look it up on a wiki, which is what I do. Story's been pretty. The writing is still pretty good. It's already like it's gone so fast for me from being like almost bouncing off the game initially to getting really into it to like already starting to be like, okay, yeah, all these missions are like ride from point A to point B, kill things or do a mini game, and then ride back. So I don't know how the game is like, and yeah, apparently I'm on chapter 3 and apparently there's like 6 chapters, and so I'm like, I don't know how this is gonna really sustain itself. I'll stick. I'm sure.
Do you think you're gonna just blow through the story real quick?
I don't know. Real quick is a part of it, but yeah, I'm gonna definitely be more focused on that because I did some other fun stuff. Like I did a treasure hunt, which got me some gold bars, and that was fun because you get the maps that have landmarks. So then like you just got to remember, okay, I'm looking for like that particular rock formation. And then you randomly see it, and you're like, yay! And you get to go, and that just leads you to another treasure map. So, like, one of them sent me to the Yellowstone equivalent in the game, where there's the hot springs and the geysers, and you have to use the position of the geysers and, like, the map they give you to triangulate where the next treasure is hidden.
That's cool. That sounds like fun.
Yeah, that's like, I mean, the reward, like you just get money, and it's like nothing. But it's a fun little activity. I like all the crap they cram into these things because apparently, like I ran into a guy that I'm pretty sure is a time traveler from the 1950s. Because like he's like, it took me a while because like he's still an old timey person, but after a while I was like I don't think he's the right kind of old timey person. And they even make it like he's one of those guys who he talks like this. Hey, buddy.
Yeah.
And then Arthur Morgan is like, I don't understand a word you're saying, and he's got me off looking for rock formation or like rock carvings. And
might be a UFO thing, right?
yeah, well, apparently there are a couple UFOs in the game because this is Rockstar. I know there's a ghost train. There's, they got to cram in all the Easter eggs. The only one I've seen as far as the weird stuff is I saw a werewolf. In that I was riding down from the mountains one day, and then I heard wolves howling, and then I heard a guy howling. And then I saw a hairy, naked man running through the woods, and as soon as I lost sight of him, a gray wolf came out of the woods and tried to get me. And I killed it, and I was like, I think that was a werewolf.
No, so that's cool. When I hear stuff like that, I'm like, wow, that's like cool shit.
Yeah,
that's pretty interesting stuff. All right, so you're digging it then, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's my opinion has definitely improved, but I almost feel like I've seen, in a general sense, everything that the game has to offer at this point already. And I mean, it's because I've been going around doing a lot of side nonsense. Oh, and I guess one more complaint: the bounty hunters are jackasses. So if you get a bounty, this is another thing. Like I looked it up on a YouTube video of like how exactly the system works, and you've got the mask, you can hide your face, so you can have commit a crime and have a witness, but the witness doesn't know who you are, or he does know who you are. But the key thing that I was missing is that cops and lawmen automatically know who you are. Like the mask doesn't do anything. So if you want to avoid a bounty, you have to commit a crime with a mask on, and then make sure that you leave the area before coming into contact with any cops, because they will recognize you through the mask and put a bounty on you. Wow. But yeah, I had a bounty. Like I was trying to do that legendary buck, and I had a bounty of $60 in that state. And the buck wouldn't spawn because they kept sending bounty hunters after me. It was like one in-game day. They sent 4 squads of bounty hunters after me. So I killed like 20 guys over a $60 bounty. Like, I think it was because I was staying in the same area that they were coming so fast. Because it seems like if you move across the map, it takes them a while to kind of catch up with you. But yeah, so that's a little, and like the only way to get rid of that is to get arrested and stay in jail for a while, or just pay it at the post office, which is what I ended up having to do. But it's just kind of obnoxious how, like, for a game that's so slow paced, like how are you sending this many bounty hunters after me over $60 in this short time?
Didn't they have to ride the horse 20 minutes to get to you, right? Or do they fast travel? They know how to fast travel, right? All right, so there you go, Red Dead Redemption 2. All right, well, let's talk about Battlefield 5 really quick. I'll just hit the main points. I mean, it's Battlefield in World War II, but it doesn't really feel like a World War II game because you don't have your typical Normandy or Stalingrad or any of that stuff, which I'm sure they will probably have later on. But they're kind of going through a different perspective and kind of highlighting some unhighlighted parts of the war, including kind of the initial attack on is it Denmark, Rotterdam, and in Libya. There's like this huge ass map called Hamada, which I guess is actually an Arabic word, which describes the landscape, which is I guess a dried riverbed. But it has all of these giant kind of islands, which are these plateaus, So it's this huge ass map with like different like plateaus of those are the points of interest of course. So it's probably the best map Battlefield has had for a long time, and these are actually probably the best maps in a Battlefield game for a while. Only 6 of them, so that's disappointing. But it's more quality than quantity. And then there's also another one in like France, which does kind of look like the traditional Normandy hedgerow maps, but it's at that huge bridge that's like destroyed and all that stuff. It's like in the swampy marshlands of like France. So that's interesting. I think the gunplay is probably the best of the series for like a long ass time. You can really ride the recoil, and it's just really fun to play. The building mechanic that's on there, basically you have a like a hammer or whatever, and you switch to that, and then it kind of shows you parts of the map where you can build on there. So if your team, at first I was like, I'm probably not gonna do that too much, but as I was actually playing it, when your team like captures a point or like a like a critical spot or whatever, and you can build like sandbags and actually like trenches and all that stuff, and you can actually create a pretty good defensive spot. So it's not like the biggest thing in the world, but it actually adds quite a bit. And I actually found myself doing it quite a lot. And the only sucky stuff is that it takes like a minute sometimes, not literally a minute, but it takes a while. And then if you're being attacked, some guy will shoot you and all that stuff. So you just have to be aware of like what's going on. But I actually kind of dug the building mechanic. And they have this new audio setting for headphones. It's called 3D headphones, and it's basically this binaural mix. That's what they describe it as. So if you don't have fancy like 3D surround headphones, I guess it gives you a pretty good mix, and it does actually sound really, really awesome. And it's just that after playing this game for a couple,
surround sound headphones are a scam. Just side note.
Are they? Is that true?
Yeah, there's like no way to do it well, because you can either put multiple drivers in the headphones, and like so you can either have true surround sound with shitty speakers, because you can't fit that many actual drivers in a headphone without compromising them, or you can just like fake it.
So these like Sony 7.1 things I'm hearing about.
Never buy those.
It's virtual. All right, there you go. Well, I got this. This pair I got is like an amplified pair for $15 off Amazon, and they're pretty good. So I'm enjoying them.
You just need regular stereo headphones and then some, audio image processing.
All right, word. All right. So anyways, it sounds pretty good, but then after like playing the game for a couple hours, it feels like you get concussed because you always get these like explosions in your ears, and after a while, it's just like too much, So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. All right, so Grand Operations is kind of the they only actually have 4 game modes in this thing, so it's a little light on that. They have your typical conquest. They have the light infantry, which is more like a team deathmatch, and a domination, which is like small conquest, and then front lines, which is a really fun mode. But I don't know, it's not 64 player; it's only 30 player. So they stuck that behind, the team deathmatch and all that stuff. It's kind of annoying because that was the funnest mode in Battlefield 1. And you can't play that unless you play this playlist that also has Team Deathmatch and Domination and all that stuff. And I don't really want to play that much. So that's kind of disappointing. But Grand Operations is kind of like the focal point. It's basically based off the operations from Battlefield 1, which were these big multi-day battles. On this one, it always starts with paratroopers. So you're either defending or attacking. If you're attacking, you're the paratroopers that fall down from the planes, and you try to set explosives on these artillery guns, and it's actually quite a bit of fun, either if you're defending or attacking. The only thing I would say is that you have to pick up a bomb to place the explosives. In previous games, you could just place explosives like wherever, and that bomb shows up on the enemy screen, so it's like you're just like basically a target. It basically tells you where the guy with the bomb is, so it's a little bit annoying in that regard. But it's almost like a focal point, though. It's a nice little focal point, so it gives the enemies a place where to actually target all that stuff. And then the next day is basically like a standard like conquest match or frontlines match or something like that. And then the third day is like another kind of match like that. So they kind of mix it up a little bit. And, they kind of go through the, they say, the first day the German army tries to take out the guns and is not successful, so they push in, and it's the Allies' defense, and blah, blah, blah. And so they kind of, take you through the battle a little bit.
Officiate it?
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of interesting and fun way to go. So yeah, I mean, little not quite as an impact as Battlefield 1. It feels a lot like an upgrade to Battlefield 1, just with and like, yeah, I don't think these weapons are that great too. I'm not really digging the standard weapons so far too. So I'd say a little bit disappointing, but I am still playing quite a bit. It still does look beautiful. It runs fairly well. So I mean, if it's Battlefield, so if you like Battlefield, you're probably gonna buy it anyways. So oh yeah, so let's talk about the version that I bought. All right, so the beta.
Where it come on the spreadsheet?
Yeah. So the beta yeah, okay. So I don't know when it was, October or whatever. So, but in order to play the beta early, I had to basically buy the game, the full game, which I did because I wanted to play it 3 days early because I'm that kind of human being right now. And then
Your fault.
yeah, I could have bought the deluxe version, which was $20 more, $80, and then played the game 5 days early. But at the time you're thinking, you know what? I'm just gonna spend 60. I don't want to spend 80 right now on this beta or whatever. So and then they slowly roll out the game. If you're subscribed to the online, Origin, the EA Pass or whatever, which you pay $10 or $7 a month or whatever to play all their games, you got like November 10th or something like that, and then Xbox got it like a day or two later. So they had these staggered like releases, and then finally, if you ordered the deluxe version, you could play it on November 15th. And again, and then you've got the standard version, you can play it on November 20th. So I see all these people playing on PC and Xbox and all this stuff. I'm like, oh my god, this game looks great. I want to play this. I want to be a part of this and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm an adult. I have my own income, and it's $20. It's only $20 more. And there's no option actually to upgrade on the PSN store, so I actually had to call up Sony customer service, and actually they had to cancel my original order, and then I had to purchase the game for $80. So I spent an extra $20 to play the game 5 days early. Frank, my justification is if it was at Redbox, it would be $6 a night, right? So 6 times 30, I'm sorry, 6 times 5 days early, that's $30. So I'm really saving $10 by pre-ordering it, right? Even though Redbox doesn't actually have the game in.
Yeah, or you're paying $20 to bug test their game for them.
Yeah, exactly. Or I'm paying less than a half of the season pass, which I would have bought, but it doesn't have this. All right, no, I'm a terrible person, and that's
Stop
why
killing gaming, Chris.
I know that's why these companies do this crap. Is because people like me with disposable income, with no kids, and nothing else better to do with my $20 than spend it playing a video game 5 days early. So I understand I'm a scourge of the industry, but whatever.
Well, you're not the scourge of the industry. You're
Yeah.
the scourge of the industry.
Consumer base.
Yeah, consumer base.
See, all
People like you.
all you haters can go fuck off. No, but yeah. All right, so there you go. So, but it's weird. Whatever. But the funny thing is, on November 20th, when the regular game comes out, I'll probably be tired of playing this game. Anyways, by that time, so I'll probably be purged out. So, all right. Well, that's it. That's the week. That's the way it was. That's the way it is. So, all right, we'll end it there. So thanks for being with us. Subscribe to iTunes. Listen to the show on YouTube and all that jazz. And yeah, follow us on Twitter. Yep, even though we don't update stuff on Twitter. Right. So for Frank
Maybe if we had more followers, we would.
Yeah, exactly. It's a chicken and egg situation. So, all right. So for Frank White, my name is Chris Stotts. It's been Chris Frank Games. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. All right, let me end this show.